I want to bring you a deduction that is often missed because it does not show up in your bookkeeping. So let's make sure you get every single dollar you're entitled to as you do your taxes this year. And today, I'm going to talk to you about your cell phone and internet expenses.
Welcome to the Sunlight Podcast. In this show, we're talking about taxes, money, and careers for self-employed people who have a big vision for changing the world with their work. I'm your host, Hannah Cole, artist, tax pro, and the founder of Sunlight Tax. If you're a creative or soul-centered entrepreneur or wellness practitioner who wants to grow your business sustainably, manage your taxes, and build a stash of fuck you money so you can control your time and have a bigger impact with your work, you are in the right place.
Hello. I'm coming to you with a new recording setup, trying to bring you a higher quality audio and video. And of course, I recorded 2 podcast episodes and the volume didn't record at all. So I'm re-recording an episode. All right. So today on the Sunlight Podcast, I want to bring you a deduction that is often missed because it does not show up in your bookkeeping. So let's make sure you get every single dollar you're entitled to as you do your taxes this year. And today, I'm going to talk to you about your cell phone and internet expenses. All right, so why do these get missed? First of all, your cell phone and your internet are part of a category of expenses called listed property. In other words, they are partly used for personal reasons, but partly used for your business. So in a case like that, you're never allowed to take the full amount of the expense as a business deduction. And also, you're probably paying for your cell phone and your internet if you work at home, if you work for yourself. You're probably paying for them out of your personal account and not your business account. Now, if you have your business bookkeeping set up so that you do your bookkeeping off of your business bank statement, which is generally how I would recommend doing it, it can be easy to miss deductions when they aren't paid for through your business bank account. So part of your tax process every year should be creating a checklist that has things like cell phone and internet so that you make a mental note to go back into your personal expenses and find the cell phone and internet expenses. All right, now taking those 2 expenses is not completely straightforward, so let me give you a little guidance so that you can get the most out of them. So for most of us, if you work for yourself, you use probably a cell phone and you probably only have one. So be careful here because that means that by definition, you use it in part for something personal. This means automatically you may not deduct 100% of your cell phone expense as a business expense. But even with that said, you probably do use your cell phone for business, whether it's client calls, taking, video that you're going to use for social media posts for your business, etc. So the way that you take a deduction for cell phone and internet is you calculate a reasonable business expense, a reasonable business percentage of your use, and you deduct only that percentage of the total expense. All right. This is a little bit more art than science, but I'll just give you, kind of the rough cut of how I myself assigned a reasonable cell phone expense to my business this year. I have a cell phone plan that I share with my husband. So automatically I can take 50% of the bill and say, that wasn't my phone at all. That's definitely not deductible for my business. And then of that remaining 50% of our cell phone bill, some portion of my usage is personal, right? And so this might be a little bit tricky to figure out, but I can basically look at all the minutes, like the total minutes that I use the phone, and I can pull a report of all of the appointments that I've had, which I do by phone, all the appointments I've had with clients. So client calls, I can actually quantify those, and I can look at that as a ratio. So I can see, 40% of the time I spend talking on the phone is with clients, right? So I know right there that at least 40% of my cell phone usage is business purpose. right? On top of those client calls, I also use my phone to film Instagram reels and make notes. I actually outline my podcast on the phone in my notes app, and I do email and voice memos that I use in the business. So I might bump that percentage up to maybe 60, 65%. And listen, this is not completely like down to the minute, but it's a pretty good and pretty reasonable and also pretty conservative estimate of the amount that I use my phone for business. So I'm going to take 65% of my half of my cell phone bill, because remember, one half is my husband's and not mine at all. So 65% of my half, and that's the percentage, that's the dollar amount that I'm going to deduct for my cell phone. Okay? Now, the internet goes the same way. And of course, the internet could be completely different. I'll give you two different examples of types of businesses that might use a ton of internet and one that might use very little. So me as a painter in my painting practice, I do use the internet very, very occasionally. I might reference another artist's work. I might listen to an artist's interview. I might do some research. I certainly will do emailing and correspondence and write grant applications online using internet. But as a studio artist who makes physical work, I am not using the internet like every minute that I make a painting. In fact, in general, my computer is away and out of the room while I'm working. So I'm not using the internet at all for most of my time. So in my painting practice, even though I do use the internet a little bit, the percentage is pretty tiny, okay, of business use. Often I don't even take that as an expense at all. Now, someone who might have a really high internet expense would be, for example, like a videographer, right? So if you are doing video work, you might be uploading and downloading massive files, and you might actually even pay extra to have a really fast, a great high-speed internet connection, right? So in that case, you might be sending a lot of data, doing huge uploads. That might mean you have a very, very high percentage of your total internet that you use for business. Even with that, though, if you don't have a separate internet account that's dedicated for your business, then we still know that at least some percentage of your internet use is personal, right? At some point, you're doing some online shopping, you're watching Netflix. So in any case where you only have one of the thing, like internet connection or cell phone, you cannot take 100% of that expense as a deduction because it's provably false, okay? So even in that case, you might take 90%, 95% of the expense, but for sure you have to leave a little room for the fact that you have some personal usage. All right. So I hope that helps you kind of understand the logic behind calculating a percentage of your cell phone and internet usage, and also recognizing that because you may be paying for your internet and cell phone out of a personal account and not your business account, it might not show up in your bookkeeping, and you're going to have to make sure to make a note for yourself to track it as a tax deduction on your tax return each year. All right? As long as you do that, it's perfectly allowed. It's a perfectly reasonable business expense, and I hope you go out and get it. All right. Now, quick announcement. I just wanted to let you know that next Thursday, the 6th of March, I'm offering a free class called Make Taxes Easier and Save an Extra $152,000. Yes, I actually do the math, and I will show you how I come up with that number. It's actually true, though it's incredibly high. I want you to come to this class if you're interested in just learning some systems that can make your taxes much, much easier. As you've noticed, like in this podcast episode, there are a lot of little tiny details when it comes to taxes and bookkeeping. These can be made a lot simpler if you have the right systems. So come to this class. It's free. It's 1 hour. It's really energetic and positive. People really love it. So come and learn about these systems. You'll have a good time. It's free. You just need to register to save your seat. So you can get that at go.sunlighttax.com/free to register for the class. You'll get reminder emails when you sign up, and you'll do yourself a favor as you're getting into preparing your taxes this year, because it will really help you kind of understand why you're making some of the mistakes year after year and how to stop them. All right. So again, that free class, you can register at go.sunlighttax.com/free, and I'll see you there.
Thank you for listening. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe, leave a review. It really helps, and share it with a friend. I'm so grateful. This podcast is for education and entertainment only. Nothing in this episode should be taken as individual tax or financial advice. You can find all the tools, books, and links we reference at sunlighttax.com/podcast.